wild vaccine schedule that I believe was just simply too many doses going to our children. How is that possible? There were no pre-licensing safety trials.
The American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, is a fascist, communist dictatorship based on no science, pushing transgender surgery in young people.
Dr. James Thorpe, he is also with the Wellness Company. Great to have you on, Dr. Thorpe, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Grant.
All right, Doc, you've been on the forefront of calling out America for this wild vaccine schedule that I believe was just simply too many doses going to our children. Your reaction to President Trump's Truth Social post and then RFK Jr. and the CDC director basically saying, hey, we're dropping the doses by 55 doses.
Well, I'm ecstatic. I find it remarkable when you look at the chain of command. This came from President Trump, directly from President Trump to Secretary of Health and Human Services, Mr. Kennedy, to the CDC director, who is not even a physician. His last name is Mr. O'Neill. So this is really stunning because they really bypassed all the nonsense from ACIP. ACIP is the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. And I think it was a real wise move because it's so important. We are now more in line with our peer countries. So, we got to keep in mind, there's a major lawsuit that's being directed towards several different entities because there has never been a study, even a prospective observational study of all these vaccines combined, which would need to have done in order to legitimize the ridiculous schedule that President Trump, Kennedy, and O'Neill just put into action.
I don't want to gloss over this because when you think about what you just said, that there was never a real study to look at the effects. I guess they call it a blind, placebo-based study. I'm going to play a clip from RFK Jr. before he was HHS secretary, but this is during a congressional hearing. And he talks about this, and he talks about asking the higher-ups about it, and they refuse to acknowledge it because it didn't exist, those studies you talk about. Take a listen.
Said publicly that I've been dishonest about that. Can you show us a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled safety trial for any of the 72 vaccines required for American children? And he made that show of looking through a file, and he said, well, they're back in Bethesda. And I said, will you send them to me? And I never heard from him again, so we sued the HHS under the Freedom of Information Law. After a year of litigation, they sent us a letter which is posted on CHD's website that acknowledges that they are now not able to locate a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled, for any of the vaccines that are now mandated for children. These are zero liability vaccines. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think we need to be honest and we need to have good science. I spent 30 years trying to get mercury out of the fish in this country, and nobody ever called me anti-fish.
So that's one of his famous lines. Doc, I don't know. I listen to that and I just think, how is that possible? There were no pre-licensing safety trials on any of these vaccines. And these, I guess he's talking about going all the way back to polio vaccines.
That's true. Absolutely true. Now, the lawsuit that I was referring to earlier, and this is an important distinction, you're absolutely correct. There's never been a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial of any of the single vaccines currently on the schedule. Never. But now go up a step further, which is more egregious. If you're going to mix all of these, 88 different vaccine antigens to the same person, they have to be tested in combination in a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial, not just individually, but combined. And that's what the lawsuit is over. And this is very serious because it's one could make the case you don't care about the individual vaccines, but when you combine them, just say in the first 12 months of life or in pregnancy, never been done. So I am so ecstatic. And Trump is so bold because this came from Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, he listened to parents for sure, moms in particular, who said they literally just want choice. Now, this doesn't mean the vaccines aren't available. You'll be able to make the choice to get them if you want. I think it's amazing to me, though. What is it, the Academy of Pediatrics? They're coming out and they're totally blasting President Trump and RFK Jr. for this. I think they're totally in bed with Big Pharma. They don't like the idea of these doctors, of parents having choices. What do you make of the Academy of Pediatrics coming out and blasting this decision?
The American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, is a fascist, communist dictatorship based on no science, pushing transgender surgery in young people and pushing maximum vaccination poisons on children. They have the data and they know it. Grant, there's now 12 studies of vaccinated versus unvaccinated children, and every single one of them show a huge risk of disease burden, chronic disease, and death